You're lying in bed at 3 in the morning and your brain won't shut off. Not because you're anxious, well, not exactly, but because you just realised how the plot twist in that movie you watched connects to something your coworker said last week, which somehow reminds you of a pattern in human behaviour you've been noticing. If this sounds familiar, you might have a higher IQ than you realise. Here's what most people get wrong about intelligence. They think it's about knowing all the answers or acing every test. But real intelligence, it shows up in ways you'd never expect. Ways that might actually make you feel broken sometimes. Let's explore 10 signs that your brain works differently. Signs that you're actually brilliant but just don't see it yet. The first sign is that rich inner world you can't turn off. You know that constant conversation happening in your head? The one where you're basically having full debates with yourself, analysing situations from 12 different angles. That's called metacognition, thinking about thinking, and it's strongly linked to higher intelligence. Most people assume everyone has this complex internal dialogue. They don't. If you find yourself mentally rehearsing conversations, questioning your own thoughts, or basically running a 24/7 commentary track on your own life, your brain is operating at a higher level than you realise. Here's the second sign that might surprise you. You see patterns everywhere, and sometimes it drives you crazy. You'll notice that your friend always touches her ear when she's lying. You'll spot the same behavioural cycle in 3 different relationships. You'll predict exactly how a situation will unfold because you've seen this pattern before. This hypersensitivity to patterns isn't paranoia. It's your brain's advanced processing power. Intelligence researchers call this pattern recognition, and it's one of the strongest predictors of IQ. The downside? Sometimes you see connections that aren't really there, and you have to talk yourself down from conspiracy theories you've accidentally created. The third sign hits deeper. Moral questions keep you up at night. While others see clear right and wrong, you see shades of grey. You understand why the villain in the story had a point. You can argue both sides of an issue so well that people get frustrated with you for not picking a side. This isn't indecisiveness, it's moral complexity, and it's exhausting. Studies show that people with higher intelligence tend to see more nuance in ethical situations. They understand that most real-world problems don't have perfect solutions, just different types of trade-offs. Now, the fourth sign might feel like a weakness, but it's actually strength. You feel emotions intensely, maybe too intensely. There's this myth that smart people are cold and logical, but research tells a different story. Higher intelligence often comes with what psychologists call emotional depth. You don't just feel happy, you feel 17 varieties of joy. You don't just feel sad, you experience this specific melancholy that has no name. This emotional complexity isn't drama. It's your brain processing the world in high definition while others see in standard. Here's where it gets interesting. The fifth sign. You're comfortable holding contradictory ideas in your head simultaneously. You can believe someone is a good person who did a terrible thing. You understand that something can be both true and not true depending on the perspective. This ability to tolerate contradiction and ambiguity without needing immediate resolution. That's called cognitive flexibility, and it's a hallmark of high intelligence. Most people need things to be black or white because grey areas create mental discomfort. But your brain, it thrives in the grey. The sixth sign is that mental restlessness I mentioned earlier. You get bored easily, not with life but with repetition. Once you've figured something out, doing it again feels like torture. You need constant mental stimulation, new problems to solve, new ideas to explore. This isn't ADHD necessarily, though there's often overlap. It's your brain's hunger for novelty and complexity. Think about it. When was the last time you were truly, peacefully bored? If you can't remember, it's because your mind won't let you rest. If this resonates with you, consider subscribing for more insights into how your unique mind works. Sign number 7 might be the loneliest one. Small talk physically pains you. Not because you're antisocial, but because surface-level conversation feels like trying to breathe underwater. You want to skip straight to the real stuff, fears, dreams, that weird thing about existence that keeps bothering you. When someone asks, "How's the weather?" you want to respond with, "Do you ever wonder if we're alone in the universe?" This isn't pretentiousness, it's your brain craving meaningful connection and intellectual stimulation. Research shows that people with higher IQs often prefer deeper, more abstract conversations. The eighth sign is subtle but powerful. You doubt your own intelligence constantly. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect in reverse. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. While less intelligent people often overestimate their abilities, smart people underestimate theirs. You see the vastness of what you don't understand, and it makes you feel small. Every time you learn something new, instead of feeling smarter, you feel more aware of your ignorance. This intellectual humility, it's actually a sign of genuine intelligence. Here's the ninth sign that nobody talks about. You connect things that seem completely unrelated. You'll be discussing recipes and suddenly make a connection to evolutionary biology. You'll see how a principle from physics applies to your relationship problems. This ability to transfer concepts across domains, called far transfer in cognitive science, is rare. Most people compartmentalize knowledge. Your brain builds bridges between islands of information that others don't even know exist. The final sign, number 10, might be the most important. You've always felt slightly out of sync with the world, like you're operating on a different frequency. Conversations feel like you're translating from another language. Social situations require conscious effort to navigate. You've learned to mimic normal so well that people don't realize you're performing. This isn't social anxiety or introversion, though those might overlap. It's the isolation that comes from processing reality through a different lens. Here's what I need you to understand. These aren't quirks or flaws or things to fix. They're signs of a powerful mind that society hasn't taught you to recognize or value. We celebrate obvious intelligence, the straight A student, the chess champion, the math genius. But we ignore the subtle brilliance of the person who sees connections others miss, who feels deeply, who thinks in spirals instead of straight lines. Your intelligence might not look like what you've been taught intelligence should look like. It might look like staying up too late because your brain won't stop connecting dots. It might look like crying at the beauty of how everything interconnects. It might look like feeling perpetually misunderstood because your thoughts move in dimensions others don't see. Most people never realize this about themselves, and they spend their whole lives feeling broken because their minds work differently, never understanding that different doesn't mean less, it means more. More depth, more complexity, more capacity for understanding. If you've been nodding along to these signs, feeling that strange mix of recognition and relief, know this. You're not crazy, you're not broken, and you're definitely not alone. Your brain is doing exactly what a highly intelligent brain does. It's just that nobody ever told you that intelligence could feel this messy, this intense, this beautifully complicated. The world needs minds like yours. Minds that question, that connect, that feel, that see patterns and possibilities others miss. Stop doubting your intelligence just because it doesn't match the stereotype. Start recognizing your brilliance in all its unconventional glory. If this helped you see yourself more clearly, subscribe for more content that celebrates the beautiful complexity of how your mind actually works. You deserve to understand your own brilliance.